is not monogamic relationship the only one that really reflects of what human love is about. We can notice that human marriage, in its most basic form, one man and one woman, has been known for human cultures from the beginning. In many continents, many epochs, and many parts of the world.
Hello friends of Collegium Voitilianum, my name is Karolina Besinic. I'm an ethicist here at the Collegium Voitilianum, and today I am joined again by my friend Father Jarosław Kupczak of the Order of Preachers. And today we are continuing with our series on the theology of the body. Today's discussion is creation, looking at Adam and Eve. So we're looking at the idea of relationships, but from the beginning. And in this beginning, we're trying to understand who we are and why we're called to this idea, this vocation of having a relationship. Father, the most basic question, why did God create one man and one woman?
This is a wonderful question that really strikes at the heart of the mystery of creation. But let me a little rephrase this question. In other words, how do we know that it was God's intention to create human marriage as the marriage of one man and one woman, and in a sense indissoluble in its beginning. So, in other words, this rephrased question is a question about theological epistemology that asks the question, how do we know what we know? And if we rephrase this question in this way, we can notice that human marriage, in its most basic form, one man and one woman, has been known for human cultures from the beginning. If we look for different cultures in different continents, different ancient religion, we find this idea of one man and one woman in many continents, many epochs, and many parts of the world. Of course, there were many variations of this basic relation. We know, of course, polygamism has existed in different cultures. We know that divorces existed in every culture, but at the same time, this basic structure, one man and one woman, belonged to what we would call the natural DNA of the humanity. So it seems to me that when this ancient author of the book of Genesis, especially the second chapter, also first and second chapter of the book of Genesis, thought about beginning of the world, he must have discovered that it was God's idea to create this most basic structure of the human society, one man and one woman. So this is the first point, that this theological epistemology of the creation it takes content both from divine inspiration but also from the observation of the world, right? So that's first. We can ask further questions. Is it not that it's only one man and one woman that it's in a sense required by a dignity of the human person. In other words, is not monogamic marriage, monogamic relationship the only one that really reflects the full depth of what human love is about?
And what do you think?
Well,
what's the answer?
The answer is positive. That's a rhetorical question. But of course, this truth on which the Western civilization, the Christian civilization, has been born, of course, it's very much in doubt today, and it's very much undermined today by so-called patchwork families, right? Where we basically say that, look, marriage is no longer indissoluble. There can be one man and few women, or few women and one man. It can be this very mosaic kind of reality, but it's really a sign of a very deep crisis of the Western post-Christian civilization.
And I think the one thing, before I move on, that hits me when you say these points is that marriage isn't even necessary anymore, at least in the way the world is looking at it. Because when you have one man and a few women, or a few women and one man, it's not a bond anymore. In the sense that this community of persons that Wojtyła talks about, where it's a man and woman who've given their express consent to be in a relationship, they're united by a single love that creates this bond that produces the family. In a way, I think we've lost something, but we'll come back to that probably. So what was the original unity between Adam and Eve? Like, what was this first marriage? How can we understand? Would you say it was ideal? Is there something that we can learn or discover in it for us today?
John Paul II, in his Theology of the Body, he looks at every human phenomenon, also on human marriage and on human love, through the lens of what I would call a four-dimensional picture of the human person. What is this four-dimensional picture of the human person? It's the truth that we live, in a sense, simultaneously in four different theological epochs. What are those epochs? The first epoch that has to be taken into account in analysis of every phenomena, also marriage and love, is creation. So we still mirror in ourselves that the design that God inscribed in the human nature in the moment of creation. However, we do not live in the pure moment of creation. Why? Because we live after the original sin. So we live in a sinful reality, which really distorts our experience of what was in the beginning. The third element that has to be taken into account in this theological epistemology is the work of redemption, redemption that is working in the history of humanity, that tries to recover the original design of God inscribed in us. And the fourth one, of course, is the eschatological fulfillment. In other words, when we look at the situation of marriage today, we have to take into account all those four elements of this four-dimensional picture of the human life and also of human love. What was how do we know the design of creation? Well, we know it foremost by the desires of the human heart. John Paul II would very clearly say in the Theology of the Body that we still have desires in our human heart, desires for love, desires for belonging, desires for fidelity, desires for unconditional trust. So there is this, in every human person, there is this open access to the mystery of creation that has been not distorted totally by the human sin. Certainly, Protestant Christianity differs very much from Catholic Christianity in assessing the amount of the destruction that human sin brought into the human experience. In other words, very often the post-Reformation churches would see this destruction of sin in a much more pessimistic way than the Catholic Church would see. The Catholic theology would accept that the original sin and our personal sins darkened our understanding of this primordial project of who we are and our access to it, but we still have access to, but we believe we still have access to it in our desires, in the movements of the human heart.
So with that, Father, we're going to come, and I want to build on this idea of movements of the heart with our final point, which is the gift of love. I think it's the gift of love. This goes back to the beginning of everything. This goes back to creation, and it's a story that repeats itself over and over with each person. What does Wojtyła tell us is the gift of love?
The gift of love, it's a very specific term, very, very much proper for theology of the body and for language of Karol Wojtyła, John Paul II. So the main inspiration for this notion, gift of love, is of course the constitution of the Second Vatican Council, Constitution Gaudium et Spes, where in number 22 we have this wonderful line that every human person, that the vocation of every human person is to become a gift for the others. Wojtyła develops this notion of the gift in his whole theology, in his theology of creation, in the Christology, in soteriology. But the notion of the gift of love becomes for Wojtyła own way of naming the traditional understanding of the human life as being fulfilled only through charity. Charity to God and charity to the other person. So the most important commandment of Jesus from the New Testament, love you God with your own human heart and love your neighbor as yourself, in Wojtyła's language, in John Paul II Theology of the Body, is rephrased, be a gift for God and be a gift for the other. Make out of your life a gift for the others.
Love is not something that stays just for the one person. It's supposed to grow. It's supposed to result in further love, and this is how we build our community of the persons. I think today we've covered a lot of topics. We started with why did God make one man and one woman? We looked at what the original marriage between Adam and Eve in this state before original sin looked like. We've discussed what marriage looks like after the state of original sin. And we've discussed how love becomes a gift. So with that, I think we're going to finish up for today. Next time you join us, we're going to come back to attraction versus love. This is a whole other topic. that I think is too much to get into for right now. So we're going to leave you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave it in the comments below. And Father Kupczak and I will give those a check later on. Thank you so much for joining me, Father.
You're most welcome.
And we'll see you guys next week.